Chiefs rookie camp is revealing some guys they're going to have a chance to be impact players. Who are they today on Locked On Chiefs?
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, folks. It is rookie minicamp, and so that does give you a little bit more playful attitude, right? You want to get in on it because we're brought to you today by Monopoly Go. If you have that competitive side, even in the offseason, and you're a big fan of Monopoly, go check out this twist on the classic. So you can join your friends as well as play individually. Download Monopoly Go for free right now on the App Store or Google Play. We are going to have some fun because there's always a little bit of inkling this time of year about who's going to come around and who's going to make an impact later in the season. This is Chris Clark from Chiefs Corner. He's going to give you everything you need to know about the cap, and we're going to need that coming up, as well as the quarterback play, the stats that are important, and how we go through the process. I'm Ryan Tracy from Rogue Analytics, as well as NFL 33. That's kind of a combination there, and RGR Football. I'm more on the coaching side, the player personnel side, that kind of thing. If you've never met us before and you're joining us for the first time in the offseason, we've been covering this team together for 8 years and individually for more than 20. I'm a strength and conditioning coach, physiologist, that kind of thing. Chris runs all the numbers and understands the cap because of his actual career that I just can't play with that many numbers, and I appreciate you. So that said, there's always this churn where there's rookie contracts being fulfilled, there's guys being cut, there's back and forth. All the numbers in the offseason becomes a little bit crazy, but this is pretty simple right now. As we're recapping day 2, and day 3 is actually in the books for rookie minicamp, put out, have really been, I think, you want to see your top picks go, but it hasn't been that as much as you can see a little bit here, a little bit there. The guy that's been super consistent so far in rookie minicamp has been Jared Wiley, the backup tight end that's going to get a role playing behind and learning from Travis Kelce.
Yeah, and that's exciting. I think that we have talked for – you said we've been doing this for 8 years, and I'm sitting there going, man, it really has been that long. It doesn't seem like it's been that long. We wrote together for 2 years before that. So, I mean, we've been working together for almost 10.
Sorry. I apologize to anyone who had to read my writing.
Yeah. Well, you should really still be apologizing to me because I'm the one that had to edit your writing at times. That's beside the point. You talk about Jared Wiley, and I do want to get into him. I want to say one thing really quick that really stood out to me. It was reported that Chris Oladokun, I believe is how you pronounce his last name, has said that Patrick Mahomes is actually calling him after each practice and getting updates on what's going on at practice. And I find this funny. Mahomes isn't there. He's not supposed to be there. He doesn't have to be there and all of that. Yet he still wants to know what's going on. And he wants to know what's going on with all the new guys. He wants to know as much as he can find out. From what I understand, he hasn't really worked with Worthy at this point. Because we didn't get any updates that Worthy went down there when, before he was drafted. So I don't think he's worked with Worthy. But it does sound like Mahomes is getting information from the QB that's basically been throwing to Worthy most of the time. And you talk about Wiley, and, you and I, as I said, we've been working together 10 years. How long have we been saying that they need to get Kelce some kind of replacement? And I'm not saying that's Wiley. Mm-hmm. But this is a good sign for what they're doing and for how involved he seems to be and how well he seems to be taking on this offense.
My favorite thing about just the basic reports, and it's basically just Chiefs reporters that can be out there at this point, is you're hearing some of the things that Wiley's doing in this, a low-level competition, just a passing camp. We know that it's not, this is not real football yet, folks. But he's doing some of the things that Travis does when he's catching deep overs and seam routes and the things that you want him to be able to do it. I'm enjoying that, and he certainly is a guy that seems to have hit the ground running as a professional. And we talked yesterday a little bit about the fact this is going to be his 6th offense in 6 years. So the guy's adaptable. He's a former quarterback. He can learn the offense, and I do think that gives him a significant advantage. But the other thing is he's just one piece of the puzzle because there is no replacing Travis Kelce. You're going to have to take multiple bites at the apple to try and get somebody that can maybe rise to that level. You're going to see tight ends, I think, for the next couple of seasons come in, whether it's UDFAs or draft picks. They're going to keep taking bites because I think Noah Gray's a nice compliment to him. But the size and the H-back tendency doesn't allow Noah, I think, to be a direct replacement. Could Wiley be? Possibly. I don't think he's quite the athlete, but we're going to see what he grows into. Maybe it's the next guy or the next guy.
But what you've said is exactly what the truth is there is no direct replacement for Travis Kelce. So it's just a matter of trying to fit different pieces in and trying to find different pieces that can take over what Travis Kelce does. And I'm not saying take over this year, but in some ways it is going to be taking over this year in some regards, because you want them to be able to step in and not necessarily be Kelce, because obviously, as we said, there is no Kelce that you're going to be able to plug and play, but take things that he does and be able to take it off his plate to where he can get a couple of more snaps off a game than he's used to getting. We know he wants to be on the field, and we understand he wants to be on the field. It's the competitive nature of him, and I get that, and I'm sure he understands that it's better for him to not necessarily have to be on the field every single play. And let's not forget what happened in the playoffs with Travis Kelce and Andy Reid. There was, when Pacheco fumbled that ball, Kelce was pissed off because he wasn't in the game. And I'm not saying that was right of Kelce. He's come out and said that it was wrong for him to do what he did. But the point is, he was pissed off because he wasn't in on the play. Noah Gray was actually in on that play and didn't get the block sealed like he should have. And that's part of, I think, why Kelce was pissed. But you look at it, and it just tells you that Kelce is always going to want to be playing. But I do think that after what he went through last year, he's going to get to a point where he realizes, okay, if I can find guys to go in and do certain things that I can do, it's going to help me play longer and play better later in the season. And let's be honest, he was probably close to the MVP of the AFC Championship game just by the way he played by himself. And I know you don't get an MVP for that game, but if there was one, he probably deserved it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's about fitting in pieces right now that can do one thing to supplement him. And maybe you could see a path to growing into being the starter once Travis calls it a career, in 4 or 5 seasons. Let's hope that that's the way that it goes. Now, he's not the only one that's making noise out there. Jared Wiley's had a good couple of days. He's not alone. Who's standing out to Spags? That's coming up next here on the Locked On Podcast Network.
All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying, flag on the play. We've already talked about that, but there's just so much good stuff about Monopoly Go. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you put together and build each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with, or hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. And yes, I'm definitely going to be doing that to Ryan here shortly and taking all of his money. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download it for free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on.
Make sure you check out the Locked On Sports Today feed. It's 24/7. It's all your favorite and most important sports shows here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. You can get it for free here on the YouTube platform or Amazon Fire TV. That is Locked On Sports Today. And today is a good day if you happen to wear number 21. It's not the old 21. It's a safety wearing 21. Jaden Hicks is standing out in what I think is probably my favorite way, in that he's walked into a rookie camp and he's already drawing the attention of the number one guy that you got to draw attention from if you're going to get on the field as a rookie. And we've seen a progression of DBs play as rookies that has been fortuitous. And even if it's not till midseason or so, it gives you a glimpse as to what it can become. Jaden Hicks is making noise and hanging out with Steve Spagnuolo, and I think that's probably the most positive sign I could ask for right now for a DB.
Yeah, and if you're on Twitter, you will see several people have been saying this, and I have to agree with the sentiment. Jaden Hicks is one of the most Spags types players that you're going to find. He just is. I mean, he has the ability to do so many different things on the field, and I think that's exactly what Steve Spagnuolo was going to take advantage of. I think that you look at him bringing him to the side, and it's not trying to get in his face saying you're doing this wrong. It's trying to see what he sees so Spagnuolo can have an idea okay, this is how he's seeing things. How can we put him in a better position? Maybe it's put him in a better position, or how can we change what he's seeing so he sees it this way versus seeing it this way, or so he knows that when he sees this, he needs to do this. It's all learning about your player and taking advantage of that in rookie camp, knowing what this guy is going to be available and able to do for this defense is exciting. Not to mention the fact that he's not a day one starter, but he's going to be playing a huge part in this defense. And from what I have seen and from what it sounds like it's not just at safety. It's also possibly coming in at the linebacker level in certain situations and playing in that role.
Which is great that you bring that up, because it's, again, part of a puzzle piece. Last year's guy in camp was Jamar Connor.
Yep.
Jamar Connor is a slot safety, same area within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage, but Hicks is a LB safety, much like Sorensen's former role. They will do some other things, but they're not the same guy.
And who was the guy before that?
That was Brian Cook.
Exactly.
And the year before that, and the year before that, right? This goes all the way back to L'Jarius Sneed. This is the treatment L'Jarius got when he walked in the door. He showed enough. And I think the thing that we don't give Steve Spagnuolo enough credit for is play the way that he likes, and he brings them in and trusts them to get started. He doesn't have to have them perfect, but they're already working on fine details. And for those of you who don't see us in the offseason and think that we overplay the amount of disguise that goes into Steve Spagnuolo's defense, he's already coaching Hicks up on how not to give away his assignment. And that's important. From day one, it's about keep it to yourself and allow your athleticism and your experience to play it out. That's trust. And I think when the coach gives that, the guys respond a lot better.
Yeah, and look back at how much that plays a part into, you talk about a guy like L'Jarius Sneed who had this treatment 5 years ago. You talk about a guy like Trent McDuffie when he was rookie. He was having the same kind of treatment. Obviously, it's different for corners than it is for safeties, but it's still the same kind of treatment. But the key is go back and watch Trent McDuffie blitz. Go back and watch L'Jarius Sneed blitz from last year and see how much detail there is and how much they're not giving away based on their alignment and based on where they're looking and what they look like they're trying to do. They're not giving away that they're blitzing. I'm not going to say that the QB doesn't know that they're coming just because of necessarily where they're lined up on the play, because that's where Spags wants them to line up. And that probably means that they're going to be blitzing, but they don't give it away with the body language. And that is such a huge key, because if you don't give it away with the body language, if you find a QB that doesn't necessarily know you're coming, you can take advantage. And even in the ones that necessarily do know that you're coming, you can still take advantage.
Yeah, it's all there. And as they fit into the secondary that already has two guys that can play from top down and come down in the box if they have to, both Cook and Justin Reed can be that guy and that presence inside. But Hicks has just that little bit more that is more LB-ish that I think can take on some of those run fits a little bit better and not have as much consistency. Does he have tackling issues? Yes, they're all over his film. He's got things he has to work on. But being the guy who stands out to Steve Spagnuolo first in this level of camp, when it's all about the finer details and just getting into the flow of things, I think that's a really positive sign for yet another DB that's going to play as a rookie and contribute to the defense. One that was accelerating last year. Can they keep that up? He might be somebody that can add a little more fuel to the fire.
But what is it that if you had to look at DBs and you had to look at players on the back end, what is the biggest thing that you really look for when you're looking at players? I'm looking for instincts. That's exactly what Hicks has.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. You're right. He has to work on his tackling. He has to work on technique. But that's things that you can teach. Instincts aren't things that you can teach. And that's one of the reasons why Hicks was looked at as a top 100 player, is because he has the instincts of a guy that can read an offense and figure out where he needs to be and where he needs to attack. And yes, maybe he's going to miss a tackle or two here and there, but generally speaking, it's not going to be as big. Okay, let me stop for a second. I'm not going to say that it's not going to be frustrating to see him miss a tackle, but there's a big difference between missing a tackle in college and missing a tackle in the NFL. And the reason I say that is if he misses a tackle in the NFL, he's slowing the running back down or the receiver down or the tight end down, and somebody on the Chiefs defense is going to be there to finish it off. It may not be immediately, but generally speaking, somebody's going to be there to finish it off because of the way this defense plays. Now, he may be in a situation where from time to time he's in one-on-one and it's only him and he gets beat. You know what? He's a rookie. It's going to happen. Young players get beat. You got to learn. That's the only way you're going to get through it. So to me, it's, do you have the instincts to make most of the plays? Do you have the instincts and the knowledge base and the intelligence, the football intelligence to be in the right place at the right time, to be reading the offense the correct way and know exactly what your teammates are going to do and be able to function that way?
Yeah. And to get there takes every rep you can get. That's why you start now. That's a positive sign. There's another positive sign that we're going to talk about coming up next. Maybe the running back position isn't as thin as we think it is. That's next here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Right now is the time. It is winner take all time in a number of leagues here in North America. Both the NBA playoffs are on the go, as are the NHL playoffs. Hockey's in full swing. Avs are still going strong. I'm still watching them. Looks like it's 200 plus right now. You get that bonus bet. That's something to get into, and you can do that and make that right in the perfect spot. It's going to let you bring home a big win of your own, and that's FanDuel. Right now, new customers are getting $150 back in bonus bets onto their account just for winning a $5 bet. Are they going to pitch a shutout? Are you going to get 4 assists? Is McCarr going to do something that you're waiting for and hit that hat trick? You never know. I think I'll put some money on that one myself. That's $150 back in bonus bets, money lines, props specifically, just for winning a $5 bet. So go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every shot that much better in these playoffs. Make them all count at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you need 24/7, and I know that you do, hit Locked On Sports Today feed. It's there whenever you need it, late night, early morning, on the road, or elsewhere. It's on Amazon, and it's on the YouTube platform itself, Locked On Sports Today. Today, it hit me for a second straight day as some pressers came out. Andy Reid had some comments about Louis Rees-Zammit. He was on the podium as well, and it is Louis. So I wanted to make sure that I got that right. I appreciate the press corps doing their best to get us all these pronunciations. So cheers, fellas. It is one of those
just happy
deals.
He doesn't have to type them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would throw a hyphen somewhere where it doesn't belong and piss everybody off. So let's say thank you to the beat reporters. But the really interesting thing is when you look at the rugby transition that Rees-Zammit's going to have to go through, you don't necessarily get the feel that it's a plug-and-play situation. And we saw and we had heard that he's been working out at IMG Academy, working on wide receiver routes, getting into open space. What's happened so far today, and for both practices, and I do believe the third as well, is the Chiefs have elected to line Louis Rees-Zammit up as a running back. Makes perfect sense. If you want to take your pitch game to the next level, it's not to Isaiah Pacheco, it's to this kid who is a natural pitch receiver, knows how to make the adjustments in the air. Yes, the ball's a little bit different, but I'm sure he'll get there. I think it's a very interesting way to say, listen, we're maybe weakest in terms of the skill positions at the running back spot on offense. Why not use a guy who's got natural athleticism and acceleration in what is maybe a little bit closer to a role that he has been performing as a professional in another sport?
Yeah, and I do think that when you start looking at him in general, running back makes the most sense for him to start at, because as you said, that is what most closely represents what he did when he's playing rugby. You're not going to run wide receiver routes. I mean, it's going to be great for him to get that experience, and I'm sure that they're going to have him do some of that in training camp and in OTAs. But have him back there as a running back, have him back there in the backfield where he's going to be the most comfortable, give him the best chance to have a chance at making this roster. And, maybe it's as running back 3, maybe it's as running back 4. We'll have to see what ends up happening. Maybe it's as a kick returner or punt returner. He was doing that as well. He's been fielding those as well. I mean, and I know we're talking about Zammit, but Worthy's been back there fielding punts as well. I mean, that's been something that they've been working with him on. So lots of different things that you can do. And with the different ways that they're going to have the kickoff, think about having Zammit and Worthy on the field at the same time at times. Just think about the amount of speed, the quickness. the different directions that you can take, the different kickoffs, because you're going to have a whole different ball game as to how things are going to work when it comes to that play this year in the NFL. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see what special teams coordinators and Dave Tobe does, because I do think that that's going to be a big part of how things are going to go this year.
You said something that is exactly what I'm thinking. The new rules for the kicks are going to play a role in this, because normally when you can leave the line of scrimmage as the ball is kicked, for a returner like Zamet, it changes all the angles. We know that we have wide coverage and the wedge buster and all that. If you can't leave until it's caught, it flattens the field for him, much like it is in rugby. It's not 1-to-1, but it makes it more like rugby was than it has been in the past. So I think this is the perfect time for him to get some kick returns, because it's closer to his original sport than maybe he had to do if he had showed up here a year ago. So kudos to him. And I just want to lay this out. You can either fight one of two battles. In battle number one, you have to beat out Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Kadarius Toney, Justin Watson, Sky Moore, Justin Ross, and maybe even Powell. Or you can be a running back and you have to beat Isaiah Pacheco, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and two journeymen. Yeah, I think I know which way I'm going with Louis Rees-Zammit.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the wide receiver room, and here I will make a counter argument. We thought the wide receiver room was going to be very good last year, and it turned out not to be. So I want to pump the brakes a little bit, but I understand exactly what you're saying, and I agree with you, because you look at the skills positions at the wide receiver position, and he's not ever run those types of routes. This is something brand new to him, where he's trying to compete with guys that have been doing this for 3, 4, 5, some even probably 10, 15 years, going back to Pee Wee football. I mean, that's a whole different ball game compared to what he is a lot closer to be used to in running the ball and doing things like that. So I do think that makes a ton of sense for him. And I do think that, you look at what he's able to do running the ball, he's going to be a guy that's going to be able to catch balls out of the backfield too. It's not just that he's going to be able to run out of the backfield. He'll be able to give you passing routes out of the backfield and do that type of thing. But it's get him a skill position, get him somewhere where he can, get on the field somehow, and then see what you can do with him and see what you are able to get done. Because the one thing that we know about Reed is he is so great at putting players in their best positions to succeed. And when you look at a guy like Rees-Zammit, that's exactly what you're wanting to do. And it goes back to the same thing we talked about with Worthy. You want to do the same thing with him. You want to put him in his best position to succeed. Same thing with Hollywood Brown. Same thing with Wiley. You want to put all those guys in their best positions that they can possibly be in to be successful. You're chasing a three-peat, and with all these additional weapons that they have, it's a whole bunch of different things that they didn't have last year that is going to be different going into this year, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see what they're able to get done in training camp and to see what they're able to put together for specific players and specific roles. And, we're talking about rookies right now, but there's obviously still going to be questions about Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore. How are those guys going to fit in? Or are they going to fit in at all once you get to training camp? Some of that we're going to find out starting in OTAs when they start here in a couple of weeks, where those guys are at, how they're fitting into things. And then the others you're going to find out when training camp kicks off, and you're finding out where guys are running when you're starting to look at the different teams.
I agree. I really like what Michael Pirine in particular contributed to last season. I do like Deneric Prince. I think that I'm comfortable with those guys being backup practice squatters that maybe you pull up. But I envision a backfield right now today. Maybe it's a bold prediction. I don't know, folks, but this is the way I feel. Pacheco, CEH, Zammit, and Steele. I think that's a great foursome going into the season.
Of course, you would have to put Steele in there.
Yeah,
I would make this. I will say this: Pirine's more of a known quantity than I think that what you really are going to know with Prince. The big question that you're going to have to find out this year with a guy like Prince is, did he improve from where he was last year? It looked like he could be a guy that could really contribute last year, and then he fell off late in the preseason. Is he somebody that has gotten to a point where he can actually improve? Has his skill level improved? And the whole reason I bring that up is because you know exactly what you have in Pacheco. You know exactly what you have in CEH. you have a pretty good idea of probably what you have in P. Ryan as well, because he's been in the league long enough. You don't know that with Reese Sammet. You don't know that with Prince. Those are the guys that you really have to figure out. And I do think that that's something that, can they develop into more players? That's the thing that I think is going to challenge who's on this roster when September comes around.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And my inflated prognostication here, I like the athleticism Zamet brings, but let's be real. He's never taken a hit. We don't know if he can be a football player. So
one of the things Andy Reid said was that Zamet's pad level is a little high, and the second he gets his first hit, he's going to find out and it'll come down. So we'll see how that changes his game a little bit as well.
Yeah. There's a lot there, but the athleticism is just intriguing. And Travis Kelce, I'll just put it this way. Bold prediction number 2, Travis Kelce might not be the only guy that successfully laterals the ball this year. I'm just going to tell you.
Well, and it's not going to shock me if you have some of the guys that are showing up in Reese Sammet and Worthy or any of the other guys that could possibly be getting those pitches from Travis Kelce, because Kelce is going to want to do that a little bit more, considering how it looked like it should have worked out last year.
It's kind of going to become his thing. It just feels like it. So let's hope that it all prevails, folks. Matt Derrick's going to be with us tomorrow. Give us the lowdown from the practice facility and what he's seen with his own eyes. We'll be back with you later in the week to get ready for what comes next. Wrap up where the rookies stand now. We'll see if there are transactions. There are likely to be. So if you have interest in who's on the roster, when and where and what happens, make sure you're Jonas. We're here 5 days a week, all year long, no matter what. Plus any extra content that we need to deliver, we definitely will. You can get on the text line at 816-357-8781. And you can always sub right here on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple, on any podcast platform. We are free and available every single day. Thank you for joining us today. Make sure you tune in tomorrow when Matt joins me, and we'll be back. Have a great